Hello and welcome to the Horror House Podcast. I'm Dave.
I am Chris,
I am Jeff.
and we are here once again on a glorious Thursday to talk about scary movies, because that's what we do, the three of us. And tonight, we're talking about another movie from the 80s. We're really hitting the 80s this last month or so. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But we were talking about 1986's Trick or Treat. So,
Make sure you pronounce that or trick or treat. I
oh,
want to get anybody's. There are some rabid trick or treat fans out there, and I do not want them to be confused.
point. Good point. Fellas, we've already been working before getting the stream going. But how are you? How are you for the people to know how you are? How are you? How is it going? Anything new?
No.
I am fantastic, except my knee is old as fuck and trying to cripple me down. But I'm gonna let that slow me down, guys. Full speed ahead here.
Amen. Jeff, you are having some computer issues, so if you magically disappear, aliens. I'm gonna think aliens first. But second is
I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
it's but if I wanted to know if it was or wasn't aliens, that's where I would go to find out, is these social medias. If you want to do that.
Social medias? Oh, that's pretty neat. When did that happen?
And there is Dave with Mothman's ass. I didn't delete that. I've deleted Corey Feldman and a bunch of other things, but can't delete that. We're going to use that to our amusement someday. I'm already using it to my amusement, but we'll use it for something.
That's a beautiful shiny booty.
But we also do news around here. News is kind of a big deal.
That's why we call ourselves journalists.
Yeah, so in about 22 minutes, we're going to take you live to the presidential debates and see what kind of horror that can bring us. Dave, I feel like Dave would be really into that.
Are full of I probably would be into that. Most presidential debates involve a lot of mudslinging, but for some reason tonight, I think it's more appropriate to say applesauce slinging. Two geezers are going head to head tonight.
Fighting like old men fight. Get off my yard! Get off! You get off my yard! Get off!
So it's Grumpy Old Men 3.
Yeah.
You damn clouds!
If they live
Old man yells,
much longer, they could have a great reality TV series they could put together. And you know, one of them would be so down. For sure.
How about both parties pick new candidates to start over, and instead we make a buddy cop movie with Biden and Trump?
I'm down. Not to watch it, but just to make money off of it. Sure. I'll attach my name.
Sure. Produced by Chris Edwards.
Another thing.
Mullen. Not Charles Band.
Let's just do that. That could be our production company, not Charles Band Productions. Speaking of which, I was looking through the Steam store just a couple days ago. There's a Puppet Master video game on Steam that I have never heard a single word about that came out in May. And it's like the, you know, Dead by Daylight and those asymmetrical horror games where it's one person is the monster and then you got a couple people are the survivors. There's a couple different takes on it, which is interesting. I don't think it has a big following. A lot of people play them, but It's neat that it exists on PC. If you're into Puppet Master, you can check it out. But you can play as the puppets against one human, like a few different puppets against one human, a couple puppets, a couple people. It's kind of interesting, but it's been out since May. I never heard anything about it. So they're not doing a great job on that front, but
Soft launch.
the premise is kind of neat. I'll give them
But
that.
did you see? Do you get the classic Puppet Master puppets like Blade and Pinhead, and or they like cheap knockoff, like
No,
more
that's
like
it's actually
Demonic
them.
Toys level? Oh,
It's
okay,
actually
okay,
them.
good. Oh, yeah, that's cool. Six
And
shooter.
you can play as all of them. They're not like they may be locked in like leveling up, I don't know, but you don't have to pay for them. You can pay for skins, which is neat. So that was the most
Okay.
surprising. I'm like, Full Moon's not trying to make complete as much money as they can. They're not trying to shake the tree from the ground to get all of the apples.
Don't give them
For
ideas.
$10 you get $10 you unlock Blade, but you don't unlock Blade's blades for unless you pay $10 more.
But I thought that was interesting. I guess that could have been news, but it's not really news. Speaking of video games, you should join us on most Tuesdays. We didn't stream this past Tuesday because I got dental stuff done and my gums and my whole mouth had a rough couple days.
You would have been a mush mouth and be like,
It was, I mean, they're supposed to put both their arms down your throat, right? Is that how?
Right.
I've not been in
Yeah.
several years, but that's what I was experiencing. It felt like.
and
They have to try to
training.
stick as much stuff as they can in your mouth, and other people put their hands in your mouth while they have their hands in your mouth. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yep.
Most people don't know this, but dental students train on boa constrictors, and they just assume that everybody can double hinge their jaws open like that.
I was being worked on for 2 hours, not continuously. He left a couple times to like do other stuff, but my cheeks were
Oh.
killing me. I'm like, this has to be almost over. Jeez.
Wider.
Yep. Wider.
And then
And no matter how cruel they are to you, like I will spit. I'm a mouth breather. I will suffocate and die in the dental chair if I don't breathe through my mouth. This beautiful fucking nose here is just for show. So and no matter how mean they are to me, I feel bad and I'm spitting on them by accident. I'm like, it's just trying to breathe. I'm sorry.
I wish I'd have went to a Dave solo cam for that.
As long as you don't bite them, I think it's fine.
Oh.
They're wearing eye protection.
But it was the first time I've been in since for like real dental stuff since high school. And I was gonna say, you know how they're always saying, oh, can you open wider? Never got that once. I actually got a few times. Can you close your mouth a little bit? I swear to God, I've never, ever.
I did not even know that was a dentist vocabulary.
Yes. I heard it with my own ears. And so I bit his finger off.
It seems reasonable.
One of those is not true. I'll leave it to you to decide.
Everyone's furiously at home Googling man bites dentist finger off. It did happen, so I think that Chris is a liar about telling him to shut his mouth.
For now.
He bit that fucker's finger off.
I'm sly like the devil. Fellas, is it time for some news?
It is time for some news.
Jeff was looking for news, it looked like. He's like, where? Oh shit, there it is. Here's all of the news. A little bit of a lighter news week, I think, but we'll still get through it. I have one thing, Dave, that really ties into tonight's episode on Trick or Treat.
Cool.
So
I'm all ears.
Trick or Treat 4K Blu-ray was supposed to be coming out last Halloween, but got delayed for whatever reason. Now it's coming out this Halloween, and they just posted this new Synapse Films, kind of like one of these, kind of like Scream Factory. They put the polish on these older films that
Distribution,
probably
yeah.
wouldn't otherwise ever get a proper, modern release. And there's some goodies, a 60-page booklet, some postcard things, a huge, I shouldn't say huge, I don't know how big it is, but a replica of the Sammy Kerr poster that Eddie had hanging in his bedroom, and
That's pretty cool.
some bonus features and stuff, which I didn't know anything about this. I'm excited to check it out.
I think I might check that out. I have been slowly working on building up a more of a physical media collection.
Oh
Um,
man.
I'm just worried shit's going to disappear off streaming, and then like, how do you watch shit if you don't have physical media?
At
So
least your favorites. You got to have your favorites on hand.
yeah,
Like my 7 copies
that
of
is
RoboCop. You're not going
that's
anywhere.
very cool. Oh yeah, well I have 8 copies of Time Cop starring Jean-Claude Van Damme.
I've gave you at least 2 Return of the Living Dead DVDs since I've known you, I think.
So
Every time they would
I
update
own
the artwork, I'd buy another one. I'd be like, here, Dave.
I own Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo for the second time in 3 years.
It used to sit right up there on my shelf. I felt real bad for Jackie when she got stuck with that at Christmas. I'm like,
Oh, I loved it. It was great. It was
uh,
great.
uh,
Beware, beware, Christmas is coming.
I can't wait. I'll love to get that back. What news do you have? Jeff, thumbs up, thumbs down on Trick or Treat 4K Blu-ray. 2 thumbs
There
up.
we go. It almost looks like
News almost got me.
your thumbs pornographic because they're kind of you got the
Oh.
yeah. Put your thumbs up again. Yeah. See, do you
Oh,
have dick
Jeff's.
thumbs? Yeah.
Blurred thumb.
Yeah. Jeff suffers from a medical condition called dick thumb.
Or he's got
Please donate.
a brand that we have to censor out, that he's censoring out for me. Like the Coke sign or something.
No product placement without sponsorship money.
Yeah. Representation without association. What's the phrase? I think that's it.
That's good.
Monetization without representation equals no compensation? I don't know.
No, yeah. We'll
If the
figure it out.
glove ain't fit, Dave, what's the news?
Chewbacca is a Wookiee. That don't make no damn sense. Um, so I'm going to start with newsiest news. Halloween Horror Nights announced earlier today, another IP house, Ghostbusters Frozen Kingdom. I don't know if you guys have seen Frozen Kingdom yet. Um, not bad, not bad. This has been heavily rumored for at least a year now that we were going to get Ghostbusters this year, and we are. Last time they did Ghostbusters was Ghostbusters 1, and I mean, it was really cool because you walk in, they have a whole set that is the New York City Library from the Ghostbusters movie.
Okay.
It's just really a facade. So that's not even where the house is because that is just a facade that they like shine lights on and stuff. But the house itself was really cool. You walk down into the also the basement. You have the card catalogs and the books and the stack of books in the middle of the aisle, and then the creepy ghost lady, and you go through the um, movie like they are want to do. So there is no Dania, only Zool.
I'm the
Um,
keymaster. Are you the
so
gatekeeper? Yes.
it
So
was
good.
really cool, and I think this one will be really cool. And the little, I get a kick out of the little Stay Puft Marshmallow mini dudes that were in the last Ghostbusters in Frozen Empire. I get a little kick out of them, so I hope they are up to their shenanigans in the house.
There you go. I still haven't watched Afterlife. I've seen scenes of it, but I've not watched it.
Uh, um, yeah, it was pretty good. It was
I
pretty
don't
good.
need
That
Paul
was
Rudd in everything I
probably,
watch. I just drew that
uh,
line. I just don't need him in everything I watch. Seems like a fine man.
you don't need him in
I
everything.
don't need him in
You
every
don't need.
single thing. No, I don't. I really don't. I'm
I feel
fine with
like
him.
life is better with more Paul Rudd.
I,
Yeah,
I just I feel like I have a limit on Paul Rudd, and I just got to really watch that limit.
you're rutted out. I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
I'm in something of a rut myself. I Paul Rudd,
You're in a rut rut. You call that a rut rut.
but one day I'll get to him. I still haven't watched the Girl Busters one that
I I bought the entire Ghostbusters lineup, which went from one through Afterlife, including the girls on Voodoo,
mhm.
and I have watched it again. It's as a standalone. It's not horrible, but they feels like they are trying too hard. Where the original Ghostbusters is more naturally funny. Like I mean, look at who and Aykroyd. I mean, I think all three of us are Aykroyd maniacs at the end of the day. Bill Murray, it's just the originals were so good. Afterlife I thought was good. Afterlife I thought was really good. Frozen Empire was a little half step down maybe from
Mhm.
Afterlife, and the girls wasn't. There were funny parts and it was pretty good in parts, but it's like they tried too hard.
I
I
agree.
didn't feel the menace either, because Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, there's actually some real menace to those, and I felt like Afterlife did a good job with that. Frozen Empire was really cool, and but the girls really missed that menace, and like I said, try too hard. They're tryhards. So, well, at the end of the day, it
It
wasn't a
didn't.
bad
They didn't want
movie.
to tie it to the originals either. They wanted it to kind of be like its own new thing. Also, I think was a thing people weren't into. I think that's kind of why I was like, I don't really.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have such good source material. Why not do something? I mean, to pay
Something.
homage, but
But like to completely, or I don't know completely. I think Dan Aykroyd was in that one, or somebody was in that one that was in the original, but like not as their
Bill Murray
character.
was.
Oh, was he? I am.
Maybe both of them were. I think they
Uh,
had small cameos.
in the girls one,
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't remember that, but I've now watched it twice in my life, and the first time I was sleeping on and off throughout because I had worked a 16-hour shift at the nursing home before going to the drive-through. So,
Not
and it
because of
was the
Melissa
second
McCarthy's
movie.
comedy.
She's a lovely lady. You leave her alone. She's no Rebel Wilson, but she got
Now I
Melissa
think,
McCarthy out for a while there because she was
yeah,
like the only female comedian they were using for a while in anything, and it's like, let's go, give me some Rebel Wilson. I'm down with Rebel Wilson.
um, we were gonna have Bill Cosby's dead news today, but turns out that wasn't true. Um, damn.
God damn! Just when Chris teased us with that, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
I read
Good
it this
fucking news.
morning. My wife was getting ready to
Um,
go to work, and I'm like, "Oh shit, Bill Cosby's dead." I was like, "Couldn't have happened to a nicer person, or a better person." And
right.
then it just wasn't true. I don't get hit with
I
those too often, but
promise.
they got me today. I was like, "Hell yeah!"
If he happens to die on a night we're doing the show, I don't care if I got to go to work the next day. I am getting lit. I am celebrating that motherfucker's death.
He's dead. They live.
I might die again.
I already. That's what we'll name it. It'll be a sequel to They Live We Drink.
Oh, I love it. I love it. We haven't done enough sequels to our own shows.
Um, we're on like 4 cryptids now. Next one's 5, I think.
They're reboots. Each one is a reboot.
Yeah, this is true. It's true. I'm hoping I can
So,
find Superman Squatch next. That's a goal of mine. I'll make a wiki article if I have to.
Soup Squatch.
Got any more news, Dave?
Just mostly just some trailer news. Smile 2 trailer is out. Did you guys watch Smile last year?
Yeah.
Mile? Oh, Smile.
Smile. Yep.
I'm like, Mile? Mile. I don't...
Starring Christian Slater's daughter. That's Christian Slater's daughter that starred in that. I liked
Is this a
Smile.
joke?
I thought
This
it
is
was
real? That's really his
yeah.
daughter? Oh, okay. I thought you were working on some
Uh,
comedic level. I just couldn't figure out how to get up to.
no. Him and Kira Sedgwick.
That's his
I
wife?
don't know if you know. That is his wife, right? Am I thinking right?
Sure. I don't know.
God damn, now I'm doubting myself. Or is Kevin Bacon married to Kira? It's
Yeah, I
Kevin
think it's
Bacon's
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon is married to
Kevin
Christian
Bacon's
Slater?
daughter.
Kevin Bacon's daughter is
Yes.
Christian Slater? Fuck it.
Kevin Slater. Parker Ben.
That felt like that word.
Okay. But it is Kevin Bacon's daughter, not Christian Slater. I totally fucked that up. It is Kevin Bacon's daughter, Sosie Bacon, who stars in Smile. But I thought
Saucy
Smile was
Bacon?
really good. Saucy Bacon. Who doesn't like saucy bacon? Uh,
I don't know.
I thought it was really good. Did you guys watch it? Did you
I
watch
liked it.
Smile? Smile.
I didn't like the monster. I liked everything but the monster. My review.
The monster at the end was a little bit of a letdown. Yeah, I would have been fine not ever showing the fucking monster in that.
Jeff, what are your thoughts on Smile?
I liked it.
Were you cool with the
good.
monster? Did you like the monster? Or where you land on the monster?
It was all right.
All right.
It's better than most. But I agree
Fair.
with Dave. Like, you don't always have to show the monster.
Yeah.
And that was a perfect setup. Like at some point you want to pay off. I think Smile would have worked without that. You don't need that. It was kind of a letdown to actually see it. So Smile 2 looks really good. The main character is going to be it looks like she's a pop star. So I don't. Let's see what happens. You know, the sequel should always add something to the lore and elevate the horror in some way. So we'll see where that goes. Um, I think the trailer looks really good.
The best thing I think of the original, and hopefully they'll do it with this one too, is the promotion for it. And I'm surprised somebody didn't get beat up, or even worse, during the promotion for the original Smile, where they would just, be at a baseball game and there's people strewn about who are just scary smiling, and you're like,
I don't even know. I don't even know if I can smile the way they were smiling.
yeah.
Oh, it's fucking creepy as fuck.
I think you were there. Because I was getting pretty creeped out.
The beard hides some of it. It's hard.
And next,
the Nosferatu trailer. Robert Eggers, give me some Eggers, man. Jeff, did you watch this one?
Oh yeah.
Did I send it in the group?
Yeah. You did.
I'm terrible with text
In the company
videos,
Slack,
though,
we don't really
but I
have
did
company
watch it.
Slack, but it sounds good.
This looks cool.
Shadow hand just going over the city. That was cool.
Robert Eggers is good with character and with just that creepy vibe. So I'm in. I think it's going to be good.
I hope it
like
has
you
some
guys
of
are
that
in.
witch vibe, but without that like old English accent. I think it already doesn't. It seems like it's going to be more accessible than the witch, which is cool.
Which?
God,
Which
do my
witch?
best. With
Is it the
Anya Joy
is
Taylor.
it the witch from the beach? Is it the one where she's on the beach? the sandwich. Got him. I got him.
And that's been your news for the week in the horror house.
I tickle myself sometimes. Uh, one more trailer. I don't know if you guys saw this.
All right.
Inheritance. It's
No.
a lower distribution company, looks like, but it looks like it has some good production value. A family is pulled together to maybe claim their inheritance. So they're all called to the mansion of the patriarch of the family and told that something is going to be stalking them tonight. And if they can survive, they will get a share of the inheritance. And it looks like it's got a really creepy vibe. It looks like um, ghost story and evil shenanigans.
All right.
I don't know. We need a name for shenanigans of an evil nature because shenanigans should be lighthearted and
Yeah.
fun. Um,
Um.
and not that place with all the shit on the walls. Um, but it looked really good. And then, if I may, it seems like we've had to do this way too much this year. In memoriam, Doug Sackman has passed away, best known as Sergeant Kabuki Man from the Tox Avenger 2. Um,
Yeah. Part
he's
two.
really he's a staple on and off the screen for Trauma Films. If you look at his IMDb page, like his crew um, um, credits are monumental. He's got his fingers in all the Trauma pies. So I got a soft spot in my heart for Trauma films. We haven't talked for a while about the Toxic Avenger reboot that we're supposed to be getting at some point.
Right.
But it's been eerily silent on that front for a while, so I hope that's not bad news.
Yeah.
Um,
I agree. I was just looking that up a couple weeks ago before the show and was like, "Where is this movie?"
yeah,
Um.
yeah. It seems like we went through a period um, back in the cold months or the winter, as some people call it, where we've got a little bit of news here and there, and it was like, okay, we're building momentum. We must be coming close to more announcements, release dates, trailers, and then just went radio silent on us. So
We will see. Does he play a part in this remake? And
um,
producing
I
wise or
don't
anything?
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Homework. We'll we'll find out. We'll find out.
Yeah,
Godspeed, horror soldier.
yeah. Rest in power.
And with that, we are leaving the news desk once again. Back into the cobwebs and dust of the living room of the horror house, if you will. There we have it. Oh God, Dave,
Great.
it looked like you were a slideshow for a second. It looked cool though. Like you had like some motion behind your movements. It was like 80s video, and it was kind of rad.
It's that newsroom music, man. It really gets me. It gets me pumped up. So I was orchestrating.
Take on Dave. Take on Dave. Anyways.
Take on me. I am Dave.
Jeff, this is where you sing. You can go. You want to be the high guy or you want to be the lower guy? What harmony do you want? Or are you going to be the straight guy down the middle? Like, where do you
Probably
sing?
straight down the middle.
Straight down the middle. All right. Dave, you had a pretty high voice there. I guess I don't got a great low voice though. We'll work on it. Maybe next week we'll present something cool. But
All right. No, we
this
won't.
is your
Maybe.
spoiler warning for Trick or Treat. So get out now if you don't want spoilers for a Mark Price movie from 1986. But otherwise, buckle the fuck in because it's Trick or Treat time. Dave, this was your pick. Hit us with a plot summary.
Um, Okay, here we go. Uh, bullied teen Eddie finds solace in heavy metal music, and until his favorite heavy metal musician perishes tragically. Eddie does obtain the studio demo of Sammy, the heavy metal musician's last album. And when he plays it, he finds backmasking that gives him confidence or inspiration or maybe even power to kind of get back at his bullies. Um, before he can be fully seduced by this dark power, Eddie fights it off, and Sammy finds other means to come to life, and Eddie must team up with the hot chick to end this rock and roll nightmare. That how was that? How was that?
That was great. That was the back of a VHS, if I ever heard one. A little long for a VHS back, but it's still pretty close. Pretty close. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty close. Um, I think the first thing that I want to talk about is Mark Price as the metalhead loner rebel outsider, which I guess some people had a hard time with because of his Skippy and Family Ties role. I thought he was fine in this, honestly. I was
I,
totally cool with him as the metal guy. Thoughts,
yeah,
feelings on Mark
I
Price as
mean,
Eddie?
the costuming or attitude were right there. The only thing that always kind of he kind of gets bullied for being a metalhead, which is generally the opposite of what I lived. Um, I'm not saying that there was none or that preppies didn't like, oh, you dirty metalheads, have that kind of fucking attitude. Also, I felt like there were some people that became metalheads because metalheads are kind of scary, and if I become a metalhead too, like nobody's gonna fuck with me. Um, so that whole thing is the opposite of what I ever experienced in my life. But I always loved heavy metal music. I won't say I was ever the metalhead dude. That's my buddy Mac was total metalhead guy, classic look, classic feel. Um, but I, Eddie Weinbauer had the look, had the style, had the attitude of classic '80s metalhead.
And he was the only one in the school, apparently.
Yeah,
His best
That's
friend
why he
was a
got
big
picked
nerd.
on.
Yeah, his best friend was a big nerd. So,
I
um,
I was after this era, so like the late '90s when I was in school. I was the Eddie of that era. So I was like all Kiss and Motley Crue and '80s and '70s shit, while everybody else was like into the new metal and like more gothy like shit, like Marilyn Manson and things like that. And like those people, I don't know if I'd call them scary. They were just whatever. So I was very much eddied then, but I think watching this, I identified with it more because of that, where he's kind of like, fuck all these people. I can't wait to get out of this stupid bullshit. And so in that way, I absolutely get that part of the
and that was a
character.
classic. That was a classic metalhead attitude of like, fuck
Yeah,
your schooling. I don't need this shit. You're trying to turn me into a own. You're trying to take away my individuality.
yeah.
Um, so
And that's
you
a
know,
big other than sex was a big lyrical thing for a lot of bands during that time was us versus them, whoever them is. And whether that's, one person or Jeff has frozen. Uh-oh.
Oh,
Laptop may have give out.
may have had failure. We may have hit critical failure for Jeff's laptop. So rest in power. Jeff's
Uh,
laptop.
give him a. We'll get rid of him for just a second. If he comes back, I'll bring him back. But yeah, I totally got that part of it. But I also see what you're saying is like from the era I was in, the metal of that time, like those people were like a, their own clique. I didn't have a clique to belong to, so I was very much the Eddie of just being like fuck everybody.
I
uh
actually got super turned on to heavy metal, uh, not in public school, but at the Catholic school when I switched, because I went to regular public school, kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth grade. I got pulled aside and did this special program for they called us gifted and talented, which is kind of bullshit because they taught us really bad school habits. Is what they mostly taught us is really bad school habits. But we covered more critical thinking type stuff. And there was a kid in my class, Drew Decker,
Oops.
fifth grade. I'm in fifth grade, so we were kind of put together. He was one grade ahead of me, but so I was in fifth grade. He was in sixth grade. He took a bus when he was in sixth grade. He had to take a bus every day, like 2 days a week, to the high school to take a genetics class. And at one point, the high schoolers threatened to kick his ass. He's in sixth fucking grade because his score too high on a test and it threw the curve. So the teacher was going to
Oh,
give everybody like bring everybody's grades up, and then she's like, the sixth grader did okay, so yeah, I'm not going to do that to you for you guys. Then they were all pissed at him. And
well.
biggest in fifth grade. Well, again, I'm in fifth grade. He's in sixth grade. He started his own bank. So if you had a little extra milk money, you could invest money in the bank. He paid interest, and if you didn't have milk money, you could borrow with interest. And so the interest and the fees and all that stuff was minuscule, but the fact that he ran all that, like I remember one day having like an extra dollar, and I was like, "Yeah, I want to be cool. I'm going to invest in your bank, dude." And then and forgetting about it, and at the end of the year, he's like, "Hey, Dave, here's your 250." So big Dungeons and Dragons nerd, super smart, super nerd. And then I lost track of him. I went to the Catholic school sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. That's where I got turned on to metal. Um, I liked metal. I liked rock, but I listened to more. Up till fifth grade, I listened to what my parents listened to. Um, Started in the Catholic school. Everyone was listening to metal, so I started listening to them. My first cassette tape I bought, a metal cassette tape, maybe my first cassette tape ever, was a mixtape that had Metallica, Fast as a Shark, Yngwie Malmsteen. So it had like a bunch of metal legends all on one tape. And my
Right.
second one I bought was Megadeth, So Far So Good So What. So Catholic school turned me on to all that shit. And then when I went to public high school, one day I went to try out for the speech team after school one day. This this dude, this totally scary looking fucking dude, come up to me after the meeting for the speech team, and he's like, "Hey Dave, how's it going?" I'm like, I don't know who you are, motherfucker. You scare me. Get out of here. I haven't had a tetanus shot today." And he's like, "It's me, Drew." It's like, "What the fuck happened to you?" And he said, "I got tired of getting picked on. So one day I was at the mall in Indianapolis. I saw some punk rockers skating, and I said, nobody fucks with them." So then he copied the style, and then he really liked that. He found out he really liked that shit. So it's not just a costume, man. It's a way of life.
Way of life. Um, but speaking about Eddie, um, the I watched he was at like some kind of a con, I don't know. Mark Price. I don't know if it was a horror thing, but they were asking him some trick or treat questions, and he said that auditioning for Trick or Treat, he beat out some people, obviously, since he got the role. But he says he beat out somebody you may know, you may have heard of, a Keanu Reeves for this.
I did hear that. I did hear that.
And as it would go on to be, the two of the writers for this movie go on to produce some things. Would go on their, if not their next, one of their next ones was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure with Keanu.
So what if Keanu Reeves had got this role, and then Mark Price got Bill and Ted role?
And
How? And now Mark Price is now John Wick.
that's why you can't step on bugs if you time travel. That's one of the big
Yeah,
things.
yeah. The butterfly effect is
You're gonna
real.
make Mark Price John Wick. And then my whole dragon joke from the Dagon episode will
Yeah,
never
failed,
work.
failed.
Um also
Are you making a
Charles
joke about Skippy from Family Ties?
the director, Charles Martin Smith, really wanted him for this role, he said. Nerds being cool to other nerds, essentially. But Charles Martin Smith wouldn't do a lot in the horror realm after this, but he would do something else. He would direct a little movie, Dave. Get close so you can hear this. Airbud. He would direct Airbud. So
Nice.
I'll start the slow clap. Everybody else, just when you're ready.
Well, I was going to give a shout out to Sammy Kerr himself, Tony Fields, a little number that he was the choreographer for a movie called Summer School, which is an actual good movie. Did you ever watch Summer School?
I love summer school. I have one of those weird
Oh man,
memories of. I remember clearly certain parts of it when they're doing the rabbits. I saw that when I was a little kid and it freaked me out. I never saw anything else for the movie for years. I'd see other pieces, but I didn't know that was that part until I was into my adult years and like saw it on TV or something. I was like, "There's that fucking movie. I thought this was a horror movie. It was just them being them." But
yes.
yeah, summer school's great.
When they do the makeup for the whole room and everybody's dead and bloodied and
Yeah,
stuff like that,
that
it's
is cool.
so
That is
yes.
cool.
I love Summer School. I
Yeah,
rented that so many damn times when I was a child.
it's great.
Video corner.
And since we're on the subject, the writers, one of them, Rhett Topham, if I was to be a Sabol to say that name, Dave would go on to have a couple things, not a lot. He would stay in the horror genre though. 976 Evil, 1 and 2, and a couple episodes Freddy's Dead. Michael S. Murphy would do more producing, Bill and Ted, Dread 2012, and District 9, which is pretty cool. And now Joel Suzanne, I'll say, I think that's somewhere in the
Bless you.
ballpark, go on to do screenplays and write some of the Prophecy sequels, Dracula 2000, as well as producing, like Bill and Ted. And like all of the horror stuff that he's written is kind of all in that realm. So
Dracula 2, Dracula 3,
Dracula 2000.
several Hellraisers, including the worst Hellraiser.
Yeah.
But I thought you were going to bring up Piranha 3DD.
I didn't.
Which is great, by the way.
I'll defer to you for that one. I did like the Piranha remake, so
Oh,
can't hate on it.
Yeah. What did you think about the performance? What we're talking about, cast and crew. Lisa Orgolini. What did you think about her performance?
I thought she was. I
Mark,
thought pretty much
Eddie's
everybody.
love interest.
I thought she was okay. I thought pretty much
I
everybody
thought
was
she was
okay.
okay. I didn't think she was great though. I didn't think she stood out.
Yeah.
Doug Savant, who plays the bully Tim, also
Total.
plays the bully Did you get this connection? He
He
also plays the
looks
bully in
familiar.
another 80s horror movie, Teen Wolf, starring Michael J. Fox.
Oh, okay,
Um, so that was kind of cool. And
okay.
then, I mean, we're not going to move on without talking about Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne.
Which, when I finally was able to own a copy of this on DVD, that is how like those mid 2000s Blu-rays or DVDs would try to get people to buy them. Like these little known things where it's like there's on the cover Trick or Treat, and there's Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne on the cover. Nothing to do with anything about the movie. Plus, it's a Gene Simmons and Ozzy picture from at least the early 2000s for both of them. So, but actually, I have that in one of my things here. I gotta fix my screen since we've lost Jeff to the ether. But as it goes on,
Dragging those boxes. See
um,
you dragging boxes.
yeah, I really liked Gene's character. I liked both their characters in this. Ozzy was they were both really cameos. I mean, Ozzy was I feel like a blink and you miss him kind of a cameo, even though it was cool what he was doing and his death, assuming death. But and then really Gene's was I thought maybe the best that he's done. I thought the Nuke character is really cool, especially as you get into the movie and get some like assumptions that he's involved in this and he's doing, kind of Sammy Kerr's bidding,
I
which
thought
is
it was
a pretty
great.
cool twist.
I did read that he based his character of Nuke on Wolfman Jack, who he said
Yeah.
was a personal hero of his, and I agree. Gene Simmons nailed it. He's not could have played this way more over the top as Gene Simmons, or he could have done the tongue thing or something like that, and he didn't. He played it relatively straight, and it
Hmm.
was fabulous. The performance was fabulous. And then I also read that Ozzy was less familiar with screen work, and so they didn't even write lines for him. They just kind of told him, "Okay, this is what you're going to do," and he just kind of went with it and gave them 45 minutes
Oh,
of
really?
footage, and I would love to see it because it's great. I thought he really sounded like one of these
Yeah.
PRMC 80s 700 Club preacher man that I would see on the 700 Club every
Oh,
once in a
yeah.
while, or Sally Jesse Raphael. Like,
Yep.
what does heavy metal do to the minds of our children? And then long before the MCU, you get a post-credit scene starring Ozzy Osbourne in one line about this is going to make you a sick pervert or something like that. But um,
I ended the
it,
movie
it
and
was
then didn't even get that. I was as I was reading about it after the fact, I'm like, oh, there was a thing at the end. Oh, forgot all about that. But one of the things to talk about Ozzy's part real quick, and one of the things that I'm still a little bit confused by, but when he's on the screen talking, he's this evangelical kind of preacher guy, is Eddie's mom, who is just doing aerobics in her aerobics gear, and we get, you know, shots of the TV playing this interview with the good Reverend Ozzy, but then interspersed we get her working out to this. Um, and then we get a pretty tight shot. Like here's part of the bed, and then here's her on her side doing leg lifts, and it's a long shot. It's maybe her longest scene in the whole movie, and I
in
wouldn't say
in tight leotards, and yes, yeah.
it's not even sexy. It's not even sensual. They're just, and you're like, they could show this in such a better. Plus, it's Eddie's mom. I'm like, I don't understand at all what they're going for with this scene. This did not just show her sitting on the couch or making dinner, and then there's Ozzy on the TV as she's doing these things. Why are we trying to get a glimpse of her girl parts? It makes no sense to me. I thought that was a little. It's
She's
funny.
not portrayed in some way that you would want to sexualize her. Like she's not portrayed like a MILF or in. So yeah, it does seem a
Yeah.
little out of place. Well,
It makes no sense. But let's keep talking about some of the characters. Let's talk about old Raj because he had a couple of moments that I'd like to talk about. But Glenn Morgan, the actor, this is his only acting credit is as Roger the Nerd. But he went on to be a pretty big writer and producer. Supposedly, he wrote some stuff for Trick or Treat, uncredited. But he's writing or wrote the screenplay for a bunch of things from the X-Files of Millennium to Final Destination. And Dave, he wrote Final Destination 3.
yeah.
I've made a note to tell you that. So you have him to thank for that one.
And three is the last of the, like, to me, 1, 2, and 3 kind of go together. They're the OG 3, and those are the good ones. And the rest are good in a different way, if I can, if
Sure,
that makes sense.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I'm not into 3. I kind of stop at 2, but I'll give it to you.
I like 3. Roller coaster, the roller coaster shit is really good.
Love, love.
I dig the song, man. It's catchy as fuck. So
now
Roger does a good job. He's kind of the nerdy best friend. It's interesting that Roger is trying to be the voice of reason when Eddie is first becoming seduced by the music, and Roger's like, "Man, you got to get a grip, and you got to study, and what are you doing?"
They're just making you destroy
And
your
then it's
records so you buy new
Roger
ones.
who ultimately is. Say that again.
You're destroying your records, so they're making you destroy your records so you go buy new ones. That's all this is marketing.
Yeah.
And
then later, Roger's the one who couldn't. I don't know. He's not really seduced as much as he's threatened into compliance by Sammy.
Yeah.
But he does give in, and so now he has his redemption, and it's good. I thought he did a good job. I don't know why he didn't act more because
he was totally like the 80s
believable.
nerd guy that he absolutely could have done more in that regard. He's so easy to believe in that role that I thought I'd seen him in other things as that kind of a character.
He kind of reminded me of pre-Christine Arnie from the Christine movie, where he's kind of a nerd. Yeah, you didn't watch Christine? We don't have to do that. We've done a shit ton of Stephen King this month, this month,
yes.
We've done a shit ton of Stephen King this month, so it'll go on the list right behind The Shining and Sleepwalkers.
But Roger,
Go and get us to do goddamn Sleepwalkers.
We kind of have to. I watched that a bunch as a kid. But Roger was also a present for what I think is the best kill in the movie, which is when Sammy's intimidating him and pulls the teacher, the old woman teacher, out of the TV, and she's just instantly toast and fried dead, and just to intimidate Roger. But the best part about that, I thought that was cool in itself, because like she's this little shriveled body when he pulls her out of the TV, so like your mind is immediately like, anyways. But we cut away from that after he's intimidated him, had this body, and then we come back not 10 seconds later, and the funniest part in the movie to me, Roger's frantically vacuuming the floor trying to get the ashes of this old dead woman off of his floor. And just for that, 10 out of 10 would watch again just for that.
Yeah, that was really good. The effect was really good. I thought the effect was really good, and even before that, when Ozzy's on the screen and he kind of drags his hand across and it pulls everything, I thought the effects in this were really good.
Those two,
even the lightning effects and the fire effects, I thought were solid. This is I mean, it's 1986, man. These are I feel like stand-up effects for 1986.
Yeah. It's better than Black Roses.
And this movie really has what Black Roses lacked. A coherent villain, a, a better story. Black Roses had the one little monster dude, and this had the monster that appears in the car when the one
Yeah.
chick is listening to the
Bad effect. I
Walkman.
didn't like that effect at all. Like the monster's okay, but like when it's
Yeah,
trying to do that stuff with her, they should have just had some smoke filter in out of her stuff and called it good. But like when he lifts the
but
ear
it's
cuff off and
1986.
it's like
How are you gonna get the
slimy,
titties
like
out? Yeah,
I mean, she didn't really
but
have.
you got to get some titties in here, man. You
I
got to
mean,
get some titties. You had one flash of titties in the at the pool party. You
oh,
needed to
were
get
there?
some
I
more,
missed
and you
those.
have
I
Leslie
missed those.
later.
I missed the pool
They
party
just
titties.
it's blink and you miss it, man.
Uh,
But I zeroed in. Big pepperoni nipples chick. Oh,
the to go back to Leslie to talk about that since you brought up the pool party. I want to talk about how much she tried to kind of help Eddie and be nice to him, even though he was a complete cunt to her until well into the movie. Uh, I mean, better or worse, I guess. But like she, helped gave him the pictures back at the beginning and his tape that they took from him, and immediately then he should have been. Obviously, he was. He went to the pool party, but then once the pool party happens and she's trying to apologize for it happening, he's immediately like, "Fuck you! I'm going to show all of you. I'm going to start Motley Crue, and then you'll
well,
all
my
know who I am."
my favorite part is I'm gonna nail him, which nowadays would mean he's gonna bang them. He's gonna have sex with them, but he's like, I'm gonna nail all those guys.
The
Oh, what also when they put the weight in the backpack and then they shove him in one, weight didn't look too damn heavy. The dude
10
scoops it
pounds.
up. There's no weight to the weight. Yeah, it's not. And then they put it in his backpack and shove him in the water. He must not be able to swim because that's the only explanation. Because
It
yeah,
has
he
to
is
be.
helpless. 10 pounds out of the water is less than that in the water. Like,
Yeah,
come on, man.
but yeah. Um, Another thing to stick to Eddie being a kind of a weirdo is once he does start this whole thing with the music and listen to it backwards and talking to dead Sammy Kerr from Beyond the Grave or whatever, he gets his first taste of revenge on the bullies. He's like, fuck yeah, pumped. He jumps in his car, he screeches, peels rubber outside, leaving the school, puts his cassette tape in, blasts it. The reverse music, and he's just like drumming along to this reverse garbage you can't understand and just loving it and rocking, being like, yeah. And I couldn't be more like, that's what I mean. I get your heroic moments happen, but you're jamming to this. It'd been so much better if it was just like the regular song playing and he wasn't listening to the backwards shit at that point.
Yeah, he should just. It would have probably made more sense
Yeah,
to if just to play the regular tape
that's
at that
always been
point.
weird to
So
me. But now, and then we've finally started a podcast, so I can air my grievances for that. Uh, we've talked about Gene and Ozzy.
I thought the personalized license plate was weird because he's a high school kid. He's getting bullied, and you, that's what you thought would make you cool, like a
What was
personal
it?
license
I
plate that
forget what
says
it is.
Ragman. Ragman.
Oh,
Ragman. None of the high schools are like, "Hey, period boy," as a response to Ragman being his nickname. Like, oh,
uh,
missed opportunity. So
and what the whole intro? I mean, I get it to a certain degree, but it's like he's writing his like pen pal girlfriend, and not that his heavy metal hero. He's like, things have been going like this, and I know what all just the way he delivers it, and I'm just like, this ain't the look I think you're trying to get to, man. That's not a letter you write to your friends like that. But
things are going tough, and I'm your signed your best friend Stan.
yeah, it
Eminem would
was really
later steal
that.
that idea. Yeah.
Um, So
Um,
that was a little weird. That could have been done a little different.
I did want to say, and personal story. I want to bring a personal story here in. And he gets mad after was it was it the pool party or was it just it wasn't Sammy dying. There was something that pissed him off. And he comes in and he starts tearing the posters down. I think it was when Sammy died. He's
That's
just
when
tearing
Sammy died.
shit down.
Yeah.
Judas Priest, fuck that. Dio, yes, fuck that. He's just pulling shit down off his walls. And then he gets to the Sammy poster, and of course he stops. Personal story. I got mad at my dad one time. I used to put models together, mostly cars. I did a lot of cars, and I did them in a lot of styles. And even after I had my own place, like me and my friends, we would each buy a model car set, and we would spend time and put models together and painting them. And sometimes I did them where I would take this door and I would sand it and put like pink to represent Bondo. So I would make like the junkyard beater, and I
Hmm.
would do different things. I would paint with the toothpick, so I could paint the different wires in the engine different colors on some like that. I did a variety of shit. But when I was young, I did a lot of those things, and I did a space shuttle model, and I spent so much time on that. It was the space shuttle, and it had like 5 different experiment kits that you could put in the back, in and out of the back. It's a little overkill, like but whatever. I painted them all up. I was painstaking with it. Decal placement. I mean everything. It came with like the ashes of the dead astronauts you could throw in the air and shit like that. But anyway, um, I worked so hard on this shuttle, and it was a good 2.5 foot tip to tail shuttle, and so I really worked hard on this. I had it hanging from my ceiling with like fishing line and shit like that. And I got mad at my
Right.
dad, and I stormed down to my room. And I fucking grabbed it, and I was so mad I fucking slammed it against the wall and just broke it. And my dad comes in there thinking like, what is he doing tearing shit up in my house? And he comes in there and he sees I've destroyed the the model that I paid for with my money and
Hmm.
that I worked so hard on,
Right.
and he
Oh.
laughed at me.
Oh.
He's like, "This is a hard lesson for you to learn, but when you calm down from this, because your anger's not going to last forever, this is a lesson you're going to learn about how to control your anger and the consequences of not being able to do that." And walked off. And that stung worse than if he had just knocked me upside the fucking head. So
Right.
that
I
dumb fucking
also,
kid I
I
was.
think maybe every kid maybe at some point has some variation of that. Like mine, I can't remember what I got in trouble for, but I used to have, Kiss was always my favorite band. No, well, I mean, from like early teenage years and on, but like I also really liked other bands. Motley Crue was another favorite of mine at that time. And I couldn't have a bunch of Kiss posters because there was no real good way to get them. Uh, for my dumbass, I didn't know how people got posters. But I ordered a couple magazines out of another magazine, as people did, and like strictly Motley Crue
There was no
magazines.
internet those
Yeah,
days.
and so my entire room was adorned in Motley Crue posters because I had a bunch of them, and so I used them. I also really liked Motley Crue, but I got in trouble for something. I can't remember what it was. And I had my Eddie moment where I was like tearing them all down, tearing down the walls like Fastway. And I think that part of it is like you don't have any control over anything else you do. So you have control over that aspect of your life at that point. So you're going to show that part that you can control, that you're pissed off, I guess, or something, or that you're frustrated and you can't control anything else, but you can control that. And so, your little teenage angst just takes it out on that stuff.
Yeah.
And
Those are hard lessons to learn, but I
yeah,
think they're important lessons to learn. So
yeah, you gotta, it's important. I think everybody has some kind of moment like that where it's, you know, and it's interesting.
yeah,
It's interesting. But just take something out on something you enjoy, and
Yeah,
it
that's
just
it's a weird process, but you're right. I mean, most, if not all of us, go through that at some point.
yeah.
So, being 1986, this movie is a little bit. Although I've gotten her to watch older stuff than this even, but it's a little bit older than what Jackie wanted to watch this week. So, tonight, as we ate supper, thank you, Los Chalupas, and thank you, giving shout outs. Thank you, Linda at Great Clips in Columbus for
Oh
the
shit, that's all that's
getting
shown
rid of the Maggie
in your
Dog
solo
look that
cam
I've
now.
been rocking.
I tried to go solo
Um,
cam, but
but while we were eating, I did turn on the end of this and wanted to get Jackie's take and kind of showed her. And we were fucking around with the dogs and stuff too. But so I showed her from the high school concert when the lead singer goes over to the amp and Sammy reaches out and then explodes him, and then the guitar goes flying and he just picks it up and sound rock, rock,
slapping his
rock.
thigh.
And so she watched that first part until he's going crazy and starts. Yes, yeah, and that's classic rock and roll moves right there. And I think Tony Fields really did a great fucking job. Um, I thought his mannerisms were good. His look was cool. Not burnt, one side burnt of his face. I thought was really cool. And then the lightning when he's playing and he starts jamming and shooting and he blows up the first guy who was wearing like a skull mask and a robe. Then the second guy, and I watched the movie on Screenbox. I don't know where you watched that. I watched it on Screenbox. And Screenbox, please take my $6.99 a month and invest in some decent fucking controls while we're watching this goddamn movie
Oh, it's the worst.
because I, it is, you can't like just back up a little bit and watch from like it would want to keep skipping to the very end every time I wanted to back up.
Oh,
It would start backing up at the end instead of where I was watching at. So it was sucked, but for a fraction of a second I think, and this will be detective work for the rabble, or anyone who's interested. For just a flash second, I think the second dude he shoots might have been wearing a mask. It reminded me of Corey from Halloween Ends, that stupid fucking scarecrow mask. And I would love to be able to watch this in 4K, where I can just frame by frame it to see if that's really what I was seeing. Um, Probably not, but in my brain, I was like, that fucking Corey. So Sammy's not a bad guy after all. He fucking just blasted Corey into oblivion. Um,
if only.
but Jackie thought it looked pretty cool, and she thought that part was really cool. And then after the panic and everybody's leaving and stuff like that, the showdown, she was out. But
Yeah, I'm kind of with her. The whole at some point this movie changes gears for me, and it just kind of drops off. Um, but there are better effects towards the end than the first part. But to talk about Sammy for another second before we, well, I guess an inclusion of, but like he's kind of an amalgamation of several different like rockers of the era. Obviously, got a little bit of Gene Simmons in there and like some Motley Crue or era, like Shout at the Devil era kind of things, but also that scene when it's showing him in front of Congress or whatever, and he's like, man, we'll bring you down, man. We will bring you down. That part is very D. Snyder and Frank Zappa. I'm obviously more D. Snyder when the PMRC Tipper Gore shit.
Marcy, yeah,
Um,
fucking Gore.
but that whole, like we
I
already
don't
talked
care if
about,
your husband invented the internet.
yeah, you're a bitch and he's a bitch, and we ultimately it did nothing but help sell records. So good job, PMRC.
Right, right.
Did that ever stop you from buying an album ever?
But again, absolutely, it inspired me to buy more.
But I mean, was there ever a person
You know,
checking your cassette tape out, being like, "You can't buy this"? Never
wanted
once. Never once. Never happened.
never. I would specifically look for like if I was looking for something and I didn't know what I wanted to see an explicit lyrics sticker on it. I wanted to see something like that. So
Yeah.
the controversy just it piqued my interest. Um, so yeah, fail on their part, but cancel culture. So for all the cancel culture, you can't go around cancel culturing everything. Boomer, you tried to cancel everything I loved in the 80s. Dungeons and Dragons, heavy music, rap music a little bit later.
Anything that's popular with other people shouldn't exist. Which I want to talk about the story real quick before we come back, because I want to talk about Fastway. Don't We ain't gonna leave Fastway in the dust, but I want to talk about the story and some just what like. I feel like if you could remake this now, you could really lean into that. Like, is Eddie like mentally okay? Is he really hearing backwards things on this record? And don't have it delve into this slasher thing at the, final arc of the story. Um or I mean, if you do it in a creative way, where maybe maybe it's him dressed as Sammy and you could do Halloween Kills. Uh but no, like they start with some great
Corey,
ideas. Oh, Corey, sorry. The this isolated kid, like, is he or is he not? Like, they kind of start that way, but then it kind of falls off, and I would really like to see this redone. I mean, you could even do like a period piece. We'll get Ty West on board. And I think that could be really cool. It could be done with some thought and could really, especially with some of the school things that, have happened. It's easy to see, people like Eddie in a more modern perspective and see the horror that that kind of thing can potentially, foster. So more of that would have been interesting. We may have Jeff back. We'll stand by. We'll stand by. Um, Dave, what are your thoughts on that?
and by for lunch. I, I didn't think about that, but you saying it now, that sounds great. That sounds like something you could really do. And we've seen that kind of trope done, and it's hard to pull off because it
Yeah,
feels forced so many times. But in this situation, I think it could be pulled off without that same feel because you've genuinely set that up. Or you could genuinely set that up. Is he really being aided by the devil that he found by playing this record backwards, or is it just he's lost it and he's acting on impulse and doing these things that someone with more self-restraint would not have done. Um, so
it would be very
I,
interesting to
I don't
go
know.
back
It's
to
an
this.
interesting take. It's an interesting take. Yeah.
Um, oh, one other thing before we get to Fastway that I want to talk about very briefly: the old school marm teacher that's on the TV. Do you know who that is? And I never knew this. I always knew she was familiar, but I never knew who she was. She is Alice Nunn.
Hold on. Is that
Alice Nunn with three N's. She is Large Marge from Pee Wee's Big Adventure. That's Large Marge.
what? Okay.
When
Pulled
when
her up
you
on IMDb, and her headshot is Large Marge. So
yeah, That's how I
Wow, talk about
found
horror
out.
right there, man.
I always knew she looked familiar, but I never could place her. And then when I was on IMDb, like checking out the cast and the crew, there was that picture, and I'm like, no way! And it, Large Marge, this whole time it was Large Marge. That's how she gets you.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
I had to bring that up.
So,
Um,
all right, I did not know that, man. And you played that close to the vest still right here at the end. Okay.
it wasn't on purpose. That's just where it was in my notes.
Oh, okay.
um,
Your diabolical planning was more.
I'm subconsciously diabolical, I guess. One other thing that I do want to talk about is the Fastway soundtrack, because we have a little bit differing opinion on it. I think it's one of the all-time '80s movie soundtracks ever, all time. But it's not great quality. It sounds like a glorified demo. I'll give you that. It's not the best sounding thing. I would kill for a remix remaster. I don't know who I gotta kill, but I would do it gladly. Name the time and place and the
Bill
person
Cosby.
on
Would you
it.
kill Bill Cosby for that? Done.
um,
Done. Um,
I love it.
like I said, I listened to the shit out of Fastway for this, and I I like this less than some of the other albums. So, Fastway is great, but I like this less than some of their other stuff. This seemed more generic to me, and I think that's a way to make it more accessible. Getting too far
Did you just
into
call me a
some
basic
of the
bitch?
more heavier shit. It's more basic bitch level,
I
but
was a Motley Crue fan. I still
because
am.
if you lean too far into too heavy metal, you're probably excluding people who might
Right.
otherwise watch this. So,
It's it's
but
it's just really. I mean, a lot of it is just like a kind of
it didn't
catchy
have the shenanigans of
rock. And Fastway,
sure,
created
sure.
or formed by Pete Way of UFO and Fast Eddie Clark of Motorhead. Yes, that version of Motorhead that everybody knows. That was him playing guitar. Him and Phil Taylor and Lemmy. They're the classic version of Motorhead. When he left Motorhead, he would go on to form Fastway. Pete Way would end up leaving. I don't think he even did their first album. I think he was gone before then. But he would bring in a Dave King, no relation to you, Dave, or Joe or Stephen King. No relation. Uh, but uh, when they would kind of end Fastway at a point, Eddie Clark would continue it in some kind of manners, but Dave King would go on to a much more popular and notable band, I guess, just more popular than Fastway in pretty much every regard. Flogging Molly, as he would form that band, and bam, it's hard to listen to Flogging Molly and then think that's the guy from Fastway. But yeah,
Seems
I love this
wild.
album. And Hold On to Tonight, I think, is the song they should have released as a single. It is the best song. It's got like a little bit of a kind of a sweet, if you know the '70s band Sweet. It's like that, but like an '80s kind of thing. It's the best song. Look it up. Like the other songs are also good, and I love them. I've listened to this album so many times, probably while we were doing the podcast, even some episodes. It's a great album. Um, but that's really about all I have to say. I do want to say one other thing about renting this, kind of the nostalgia corner. But that's really the only other thing I want to talk about before we get to rating it. So anything else that you want to talk about yourself?
No, I very much Black Roses esque. We mentioned hit that
Good double
earlier.
feature.
very much in
potentially.
theme with what we're doing next week, which is the collision of horror and music, although we're going more music conspiracy theories and specifically Beatles conspiracy theories next week. I've already been doing a little bit of deep dive research. I'm doing my own research, not like COVID vaccines, but doing my research in something important, Beatles conspiracy theories.
Nice.
Um, but this is a great movie. I watched this way later than I should have. It took me way long to watch this. I did not watch this in the 80s or the 90s. It was well into the 2000s before I ever saw this.
Oh,
It was
really?
well after Trick or Treat. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Okay. Okay.
um, but I knew of it. I knew of it. Um, but I had never watched it. So,
I
80.
Jeff is trying to
Well,
come back to us. We'll see where he ends up here. But I saw it a little bit earlier than that. It was me and my cousin Harlan were trying to find the Gene Simmons movies of, you know, the 80s to the 90s. And obviously Runaway with Tom Selleck is an easy one to get. You just go, you know, at the time, VHS rental stores, you could find that anywhere. Never could find Trick or Treat. And so we were always looking. And so when you would find, you know, like a rental store that had some kind of like rare stuff, it would be like, oh, I found the good shit. And one day he came over. He's like, I found Trick or Treat at this new video store, and I'm like, oh shit! And that's how we finally got to watch it. And part of it was like we finally got to watch it, so it's got that kind of nostalgia of the hunt's over. We found this thing, and I mean, it's okay. But the fun of the nostalgia of it and stuff kind of does it. So, yeah, it was one of those things that was hard to find, and we finally did.
Keep come back. That's a recurring theme for our Horror House podcast is nostalgia. It's a hell of a drug, but
Yeah.
also the circumstances around a movie or an event mean as much or can affect our opinion as much as the actual movie or event. So we have Dark Jeff. So Jeff is real life dark mode right now. How's it going, Jeff? Can you hear us? It appears you are muted.
Yeah.
There we go. We got Jeff.
It looks like
Kind
you're
of.
post-apocalyptic right now. Like the shits went down, and you're broadcasting your last thing.
My desktop, I had to like try to find all the pieces and get it going again.
Oh, you're like Deep Throat right now. You're like you will listen
I
to this
don't
message.
know how long I'll be able to broadcast. I can hear the Black Hawk helicopters outside.
I have no light over here. No.
I would give you a flashlight, but I can't. Yeah, you were froze for a couple seconds, and I'm like, oh no, I think it's happened. I think we've lost Jeff. But we carried on.
Turns triumphant though. He returns triumphant.
Jeff, any thoughts on Trick or Treat before we rate this movie?
Don't repeat any thoughts we've already talked about.
We've really ran the gamut.
Come on now. Be original.
Oh man, this is gonna be hard. So then they don't really explain why they called him Ragman. Talk about Ragman.
Briefly, Dave was like, why didn't he get into fights over being called Period Man at school? And
what happened to Gene Simmons in the movie? DJ Flash?
Nuke.
Yeah, Nuke. Whatever happened to him? They don't never
Yeah.
show. Whatever happened to him? They don't never
Yeah.
show.
He was off to broadcast Sammy Kerr's message to the world. He's just spreading
I
the
mean, it
Kerr.
auto connected and started playing itself. So I just assumed he just like set it up to like automatically play
Yeah.
at midnight because he wasn't going to be there.
I took it to mean like he's part of Sammy's plan for everything. Like he sets it to autopilot and then he's off to avoid the repercussions and then, just keep spreading the Sammy Kerr-ness across the better Cincinnati area, wherever they're at.
Yeah. I took it the same way, and I think it would have been interesting at the end if you had Rando listening to a car radio, you heard Nookster's voice, "Hey, I got something hot for you," and start
Yeah.
playing some Sammy
Oh,
Kerr, and
goosebumps. That
you
was
know,
the ending.
I think that would have been a cool little stinger at the
Oh,
end.
we're putting that. Oh, you just got a co-writing credit on my remake, Dave. That's what we're doing. That's what we're fucking doing. I'm ending this stream, and we're all three getting into writing mode. Because that's the ending. That's the ending it always needed. And woo! I love it. I love it. I've had 3 beers and a Coke.
Sound like a
I'm
better
in.
ending.
Oh my, I love it. All right. Any other thoughts, Jeff?
Oh,
Or Dave? Either one of you. I don't care. It's fine. Speak your piece.
I got one last thought. Mark Price, Emily Ties, and I just want to say, because we talk about 80s sitcom theme songs here a lot,
Yes,
the
I love them.
Family Ties theme song is garbage. It's fucking trash. I will not accept arguments on this front.
What would we do, Dave, without us?
it- what the hell is that?
What would we do,
Catchy and
Dave,
upbeat. It's
without Jeff?
Did you guys talk about Michael Gross since he was on the show? He was in Tremors. The dad.
No. Have we? I'm sure we did. We talked about Tremors once in a efficiency of violence episode, but we didn't. I'm sure we brought a family. We had to, right?
I mean,
Right?
brought up Family Ties. So
I don't think
I
anybody
would
sang
think-
it.
I think
But you never know.
Oh.
Never know.
because it's garbage. Because it's a garbage theme song.
I don't hate it like you do.
Give me some Facts of Life any day.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hate it.
I'll give you
Give me
that.
some Who's the Boss?
Perfect
So-
Strangers.
Hell,
is-
give me
is
some
top
Different
tier.
Strokes.
Different Strokes is great.
Perfect Strangers.
Bosom Buddies.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was
Bosom
till
Buddies
a
is
couple weeks
Bosom
ago.
Buddies is peak.
Greatest American Hero. I've used that as a joke a time.
Nope.
All right,
Yeah,
are we ready?
fantastic. Family
Are we
Ties.
ready to rate this and get out of here so I can go to the little boy's room? Are we ready? All right, Dave. Since this was your pick, I'll go first. Jeff, you'll go second. Dave, you'll finish it off. I think Trick or Treat touches on some cool ideas. Like we talked about the isolation. The isolation. There's another Texas kind of thing we could do later. But that left out kid, the loner, the bullied kid, and you get a lot of things that could have been really like thoughtful and like this dark movie. Obviously that doesn't work in the 80s, but like is Eddie really hearing these messages and so on and so forth. Could have been really cool. And it's something like if somebody was to ever remake this movie is what I would want to see from it. But then it goes into this like campy like 80s slasher that doesn't really stand up to me to the other slashers of the time. Better than Black Roses though. Better than Black Roses. And I think one of the best 80s soundtracks you could ever want with Fastway. That said, I do still like this movie and have fun with it. But there's parts that you see the kind of the jank on. But the nostalgia and the fun, versus what could have potentially been there, and like the bad things about it. Like, how do you compromise and get to your rating? I don't know. I just rate it however I fucking want to rate it, and then so I give it a 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10 is my rating.
Guessed you were going to say 6. I guessed you were going to say 6.
Jeff, how would you rate this? And your final thoughts?
Yeah, it's a good movie. I remember watching it probably back in high school. Uh, you have Ozzy on the cover and Gene Simmons, and of course, you don't see that version of Ozzy
Yes.
in the movie.
We talked about that exact cover. Like, it was like an early 2000s picture of both of them. But continue.
But yeah, I mean, like the story was good. The special effects, they were good. I mean, they weren't complete trash like a lot of films are like today. I feel like they did a really good job with everything.
No shark
I
puss.
I feel like it was a bit long. Like, I mean, they had it set up to tell the story and everything, but some parts just felt like a little too long. Like they could have probably shortened it a little bit. But I mean, I'd give it a 6.5.
Okay.
Today, I predicted you as a 6.5. I predicted Chris as a 6.
Will Dave get them all correct? We shall
This is
see. Hit it, Dave.
and what am I predicting for my score? Will I predict my score correctly? This is it's a solid movie. I thought it was fun. I thought it was interesting. It was well acted. The effects were good. The lightning effects. The only one that kind of was in the car with the Walkman. And I didn't mind the ghost hands stripping her because that's how we get boobies in the scene. I didn't mind that as much as Chris seemed to mind that. If anything, it was the dog, demon dog creature thing that came out of nowhere and really wasn't a developed idea. I read some shit about, oh, you see the demon that he is partnering with, and this. Okay, if you didn't tell it in the movie, you can't just make up shit now. So, um, little tiny, teeny, pico de gallo issue with that. But I like the story as written. I like the end when it goes crazy. I think Sammy Kerr, when he comes back and he's jamming on stage, was great. I would love to see that stage show as long as he didn't shoot me with guitar lightning and explode me. Um, and the chaos he causes. I thought I liked that. I liked that switching gears to an actiony end. And then end came up after that. So maybe I would have liked to develop that more and play that slasher more. Um, he gets in the Sammy's coming out to join him, and the cop tasers him, and he grabs it and explodes the fucking cop. And I loved all that shit when he comes jumping out of the fucking window of some fucking rando house. Or was that, I don't know whose house that was. I thought that shit was cool. I thought the end was cool with Sammy. So I did not mark it off for that. Those things are great to me. And I gave it a easy one to average. A 7, a 6.5, and a 6 is going to average to 6.5. So,
You gave it a 7.
not a bad little average for Firestarter. Yes, because I didn't have my notebook with me when we did Firestarter, but Pet Cemetery we gave 8.3, 8.5. The Burbs a 7.8. The Changeling 7.8. Castlevania 8.25. So Ready or Not a 6. So
Uh-oh.
we've had Night Swim a 4.3. So we've had some lower rated shows. But a solid movie and a 6.5 aggregate average is a pretty solid average. So if you're watching on the YouTubes, please let us know what you rate this movie at. And did you like the switch to Sammy as a kind of slasher, pseudo slasher at the end? Did you want more of that or less of that? Or is it just right, like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears? You want more porridge or less porridge, or just the right amount of porridge?
And should we start a Kickstarter for the remake that I really want to see happen now?
I mean, it's going to be rough. Um, Busy blob schedule, which I kind
Oh,
of didn't bring it up earlier, but I might have some blob news. I don't know if it really qualifies as news, but Stella and am I
how are you going to have
am I
blob
being ushered
news?
off the stage?
You can't have blob news without you can't blob news. You can't
I
blob
should have
news.
run this by you. It's not really news.
There is no remake but mine.
Stella and Jackie took the dog to the vet the other day.
Oh, okay.
And while they were in the car by themselves, Stella up the 80s remake of The Blob, and Jackie was telling me the story. She's like, sounded just like you. She was like, no, I know it's from the 80s. It's really good, and it did this, and it did this, and it did that, and it. So, um, that's the news. Is that maybe I can get Stella and Jackie to sit down and watch the Blob remake with me.
Oh, report back because I would love. And after they watch it, then tell them about my mega series that I'm going to do. And I'll bring you on too. I'll bring you on
For
board because I
your
trust your and Jeff's opinions.
999 episode Blob arc.
Yeah,
So,
it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be hot. May have to go on the back burner. I may have to do Trick or Treat first. We may have to do Trick or Treat first. 'Cause I'm really pumped about that.
Can you make Trick or Treat like a 4 episode arc in the greater Blob series?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay. Well, that does it. That does it for us. Another week in the horror house. Great ideas. All about. Um. Yeah. All right, let's do that. Jeff, you are haunting right now. Lean way back like that, and then we can like maybe see. There you are.
We
I
get
don't know if
about a
that may.
quarter of your face, man. It is you look possessed right now.
If I
Black
had the
holes in your head.
expertise immediately to put like a voice changer on you, I you could be like, follow the horror house or I'll find you. It'd be cool.
Jeff, give it a would you like to play a game?
Well,
I swallow your soul.
I swallow your soul. Swallow your soul.
Such nights. You.
I didn't catch that one. Do you have anything you want to say before we end for another week? Because we're coming back with some real life horror next week. Some more music stuff though. And it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be hot business. Should be here
It's all
to watch
tied
it.
together.
With some
Illusion.
Beatles conspiracy. Doctor says I drink too much. I think he's full of shit.
Yeah, I think the doctor don't drink enough.
Yeah, maybe they don't know. They don't know me.
That's my professional opinion.
But stay
Jeff,
tuned
don't judge.
for that. Maybe with your help, Dave, sing Arms of an Angel. With your help,
In the arms
we can get
of
Jeff
an
a light bulb
angel.
for his desktop, so we can see his face one more time.
Lyrics.
So go to gofundme.com/Jeff to help. Where'd my music go? Dave, you
In
quit.
the arms of
Oh, lag got
joy,
us.
flying from here, from his dark, cold hotel room, and the endlessness that you fear.
It sounds like you're in love with Jesus.
Yeah, man, I'm in love with Jesus. What's so wrong with that? Huh?
So stay tuned next week. Beatles conspiracy, real life horror. Maybe we'll see. Gentlemen, final words. Jeff, I feel like you should have a couple extra final words since people didn't get to hear you even less than usual.
Stage is yours, sir.
It is what it is.
Technical
Is what it
difficulties
is.
tonight. They happen. Yeah, they happen. We could kind of cover it up before because we were always recorded. But this is live, baby.
I'm dragging Box live on air.
Live. This is live. You don't get this. Yeah,
Damn, my
you can't
boxes are
hide the naked
out of
truth.
order. But we will be back, hopefully with less technical difficulties. But you never know. Never know. These things happen. We'll see what happens next week, but we will hopefully be back for some Beatles stuff. Dave, final thoughts, final words. We'll leave it to you to send us off into the empty internet, bot-filled internet.
We need more rock and roll music horror. It doesn't have to be rock and roll. It can be hip hop or rap or smooth jazz. We need more musical horror, and this is why I like Edgar Wright, man. He does such a good job with style and soundtrack. So I really like this, and we need more. We need more.
All right. Until next
Get
week,
on it,
everybody.
Hollywood, or give us the money and we'll get on it.
Trick or Treat 2 remake coming at you. Bye.